There is a wind that rises after dark in the coastal villages of West Africa. It doesn't howl. It hums, steady and low, like the breath of something ancient. The people do not fear the dark itself. They fear what might move within it. Not a man, not a ghost, but something older, something sacred, something wrapped in raffia and mystery. When the night becomes too quiet and the crimes too loud, he rises. He does not knock. He does not speak. He spins. He watches. He judges. And when he comes, even the guilty tremble, because Zangbeto has entered the street. They call him the guardian of the night, the one who does not sleep. In the traditions of the Ogu people of Benin, Togo, and southwestern Nigeria, Zangbeto is not a deity in the way we imagine gods with temples and thrones. He is a force, a spirit, a divine enforcer sent by the ancestors themselves to walk where the law fails and truth is buried. His body is concealed beneath a towering costume made of palm fronds and sacred fibers, often dyed in deep purples, reds, or earthy gold. No eyes are visible, no hands, no feet, and yet he moves with purpose, swift, spinning, unstoppable. People say there is no human beneath the costume. They say the spirit enters the raffia itself. That Zangbeto is not worn, it wears you. When he dances, he cleanses the village. When he spins, he chases evil into the bush. When he stops and points, confessions are made and secrets unravel like thread. He has been called everything: protector, oracle, punisher, ghost. But one thing is always true. When Zangbeto walks, the night has eyes. This is not myth. This is not superstition. This is one of Africa's most enduring and mysterious spiritual systems, still alive in modern cities, festivals, and ancestral ceremonies. But who is Zangbeto truly? What power hides beneath the raffia? Why do people still tremble at his arrival, even in a world of streetlights and cell phones? This journey is not just a story. It is an unveiling. We are about to follow the footsteps of a spirit who never sleeps. We are about to see what the dark remembers. Because in Ogu land, the night does not forget, and neither does Zangbeto. Long before Zangbeto became the spinning eye of the night, there was only darkness. The Ogu people, scattered across the coastlines of what is now Benin, Togo, and parts of Nigeria, lived with one eye open after sunset. The night belonged to those who had no fear of consequence. Thieves moved like shadows through market stalls. Witches whispered curses through the bush. Justice was slow. The chiefs were overwhelmed. The people cried out, not just to their kings, but to the spirits. And as it often is in Africa, when the people cry long enough, the spirits answer. Zangbeto was born not from peace, but from chaos. He emerged as both protector and warning. A creation of the Ogu spiritual order, yes, but more than that. A divine presence sent to walk where human justice had failed. The name Zangbeto means guardians of the night in the gun language. But this is no title. It is a function, a mission. Zangbeto was never meant to entertain. He was made to watch, to guard, to restore the sacred balance between silence and safety. The early Zangbeto were not spirits in theory. They were the law in motion. When rumors of crime swelled in the village, Zangbeto would rise. He did not carry weapons. He did not shout. He spun. He moved through the dark like wind wrapped in leaves, his raffia costume swaying with each turn. And where he stopped, there truth was found. Stolen goods recovered. Confessions torn from stubborn mouths. The people feared him, respected him, and most of all, they obeyed him. But the mystery only deepened. In time, it was said that Zangbeto was no longer man at all. that during certain ceremonies, the human who wore the raffia vanished, and something else took over. A spirit, summoned by chants and sacred invocations, entered the costume. Elders swore they had seen the raffia rise with no feet beneath, that voices came from the center of the mask with no mouth to form them, that when they opened the costume there was nothing inside. And so Zangbeto became more than a guardian. He became a mythic enforcer, half spirit, half memory. His spinning was not random. It was a spiritual technology, a sacred radar that read the guilt in a man's chest before a word was spoken. His silence was not emptiness. It was judgment gathering breath. The Ogu people began to formalize his presence. Societies were formed, Zangbeto cults, made up of men dedicated to the spirit's preservation and manifestation. These men did not take the role lightly. Initiation was grueling. Sacred knowledge was passed down in whispers, in dreams, in trials of silence and endurance. You could not choose Zangbeto. He had to choose you. Each town developed its own ceremonies, colors, codes. In some places, Zangbeto wore deep purple, the color of royalty and spirit. In others, green or red marked his movements. But the purpose was always the same: to protect the people from the darkness within their own walls. Over time, the legend grew. It was said that Zangbeto could walk through fire and leave unburned, that he could uncover a thief simply by spinning near them, that he could see through lies like water sees through cloth. He was called the eyes of the ancestors, the one who spins truth, the soul of the village at night. But there was also a price. You could not lie to Zangbeto. You could not mock him. Those who tried fell ill. Some claimed the raffia had entered their dreams, whispering secrets only they knew. Others ran from the village, unable to bear the weight of what they had buried. Because once Zangbeto knows your truth, it does not remain hidden. It begins to burn through the silence. The colonial era came, and with it came foreign religions, foreign laws, foreign doubt. The Europeans called Zangbeto a masquerade, a tribal performance, a cultural remnant. But the people knew better. Even as Christian missions rose, even as Islam spread, even as cities grew, Zangbeto did not vanish. He adapted. He went underground. And then slowly he returned, not in defiance, but in remembrance. Because the night still needs eyes, because the people still need truth, because the soul of the village must be guarded, especially when no one is watching. And so today, Zangbeto still walks. In Porto Novo, in Cotonou, in Badagry, in Lagos, in the hearts of those who know that justice is not always found in courts, but sometimes in raffia and wind. He was born from fear, raised by spirit, and carried by those brave enough to spin beneath the moon. They say there's no man beneath the mask, that what dances, spins, and searches under the night sky is not of flesh, but of shadow and spirit. When Zangbeto appears, cloaked in towering layers of palm raffia, dyed in colors too rich to name, the crowd does not cheer. They hush, because in that moment, what stands before them is not a costume, it is a presence. One that does not blink, does not sleep, and does not forgive. What moves beneath the raffia? It is the question outsiders ask, and one the initiated never answer directly. Because to speak of it plainly is to reduce a sacred mystery to mere curiosity. The truth is this: what animates the Zangbeto mask is not always human. It may begin with a man, but once the rituals are performed, once the incantations are chanted and the sacred drumbeat begins, something else enters. And when it does, the body beneath the raffia becomes more than body. It becomes a vessel, The transformation does not happen with ceremony alone. It begins in silence. Days before the public appearance, the Zangbeto is prepared in secret by the spiritual society. The mask is blessed with herbs. The raffia is cleansed with river water. Offerings are placed: kola nut, schnapps, roasted yam. Prayers are whispered. Then, in the darkness of the shrine, the spirit is invoked. In the gun language, it is said that Zangbeto is Koko Tun, a powerful ancestral force. Not a deity in the strictest sense, but a protective intelligence of the land, called forth when balance must be restored. He does not enter like a whisper. He enters like wind, sudden, complete. The man beneath the raffia may scream, or fall silent, or vanish, as some say. What emerges from that shrine is not the same. In public, Zangbeto spins violently. His movements are fast, erratic, almost impossible for an ordinary human to sustain. He whirls until dust clouds rise, until the watchers begin to cry out, not from fear, but from something deeper: recognition. The spirit is present. You can feel it in your teeth, in your chest. The drums match his speed. The ground shudders. And then suddenly, he stops. In that silence, the questions return. Is there a man inside? But when the elders open the raffia and reveal only smoke, only dust, or nothing at all, the question becomes a revelation. There are witnesses who swear they saw no feet beneath the moving figure. Others say they heard voices speaking in tongues not known to any living person. Once, a foreign journalist reached to lift the raffia and fainted before his fingers made contact. When he awoke, he could not remember why he fell, but he never returned. The spiritual leaders, keepers of the Zangbeto society, explain it simply: the mask does not hide the man. It reveals the spirit. They warn that to focus only on what is underneath is to miss what is within. Zangbeto is not a costume. He is an embodiment, a force that sees beyond human sight, that spins not just to dance, but to disturb hidden energy, to shake lies loose, to make thieves sweat, to call evil out from its hiding place.
Some say the raffia costume itself is alive, that each strand has been blessed to carry the spirit's weight, that when Zangbeto moves, the cloth whispers, that it hums, that it remembers. For each piece is stitched with intention, some to protect, others to bind, others to summon. In this way, Zangbeto is not worn. He is built, strand by strand, memory by memory. Even in modern cities, where electricity hums and sirens scream, the mystery remains. In places like Porto Novo and Lagos, Zangbeto still spins, still stops, still reveals. During public displays, he may lift objects heavier than any man could carry, walk through fire without being burned, or cause sudden trances in nearby onlookers. Scientists try to explain it. Skeptics call it illusion. But the villagers know better. They've seen the mask cry. They've seen it bleed. They've seen it speak the names of the dead and be correct. The most sacred appearances happen at night, away from cameras, away from crowds, deep in the forest or village square under moonlight and ritual flame. Here, Zangbeto is not a show. He is a reckoning. The people do not gather for entertainment. They gather for truth, for healing, for the kind of justice that only a spirit can deliver. Because what moves beneath the raffia is not just energy, it is history, it is vengeance, it is protection, it is memory that spins. And when he spins, you do not ask who is inside. You ask, what have I hidden that he might see? Zangbeto does not come to dance. He comes to restore order. In the eyes of the Ogu people, when the world slips out of alignment, when thieves walk free, when witches poison crops, when children disappear in the night, it is not the chief they call. It is not the police. It is Zangbeto. Because Zangbeto sees what no man dares to speak. The rituals that summon him are not done in haste. They are ancient, precise, and wrapped in secrecy. Elders from the Zangbeto society, those initiated into the deepest mysteries of the night, prepare the ground long before the raffia rises. Sacrifices are made. Incantations are spoken. Sacred chalk is drawn on the earth in symbols that only the ancestors understand. And then, when the time is right, the drummers begin. Zangbeto's movements are not random. They are maps, spiritual blueprints drawn with the feet of justice. Each spin unlocks a layer of energy. Each pause is a signal. And when he points, when he stops before someone in the crowd and begins to whirl like a storm, the people know truth is being called forward. Witnesses speak of impossible things. A man accused of theft, denying it for months, suddenly drops to his knees and confesses the moment Zangbeto stops in front of him. A woman hiding a charm beneath her wrapper begins to shake violently until she hands it over. A child lost for days is found the next morning in the very spot where Zangbeto danced the night before. But this is not mere performance. It is judgment in motion. Zangbeto is said to possess powers no human should hold. He can see into the unseen. He knows who has committed crimes, even if no one else does. He can enter homes at night without opening doors. He can appear in dreams to warn or rebuke. And his word, once given through sign or symbol, is final. No appeal, no debate. Because Zangbeto does not serve the village, he serves the spiritual order beneath it. And so his rituals are treated with awe. When Zangbeto emerges, the people kneel. They toss kola nuts before him. Children are told not to stare directly at his face, if it can even be found. Women sing ancestral songs to keep the spirit calm. Men sweep the ground before him. Even the animals grow still. In some ceremonies, Zangbeto is tested. A calabash of sacred herbs is placed before him. If he refuses to touch it, the elders know the offering is unworthy. If he picks it up and drops it in a specific pattern, they read the message: war is coming, or peace has arrived. In this way, Zangbeto becomes oracle, not just guardian.
But his powers are not only mystical, they are deeply social. In villages where Zangbeto is active, crime is rare, not because of fear, but because of certainty. People believe that Zangbeto will know if they steal, cheat, or break taboos, and that belief becomes self-correction. His presence becomes spiritual surveillance, a reminder that the ancestors are not sleeping and justice is not blind. At night, when the village sleeps, Zangbeto is said to patrol. Not always visible, not always embodied, but present, moving through the air, listening to whispers, reading intentions. Those who plot evil speak softly, those who break oaths wake with fevers, because even without form, Zangbeto is watching. He is not just a ritual, he is a spiritual intelligence, one that defends the boundaries between order and chaos. But not all judgment is punishment. Zangbeto can also bless. He is often invited to major festivals, weddings, harvest rites. His presence ensures that the event is protected, that no hidden jealousy, no spiritual attack will take root. When he spins during these gatherings, the people rejoice, not just in his beauty, but in the peace he brings. In modern times, even city governments in Benin and Togo have recognized Zangbeto's power. In some areas, he is allowed to act as a community enforcer, keeping peace where the police cannot. When the state fails, the spirit still walks. And yet Zangbeto does not belong to the past. His cloth may be ancient, but his message is urgent. Do not lie, do not harm, do not hide darkness in your hands, and pretend your spirit is clean. Because Zangbeto knows, Zangbeto sees, and when the raffia spins, so does your secret. He is not a man, he is the will of the ancestors in motion. He does not punish for revenge, he restores for the future, and his power is not in violence but in visibility. He makes the hidden seen. And in a world still full of shadows, Zangbeto is the wind,
that remembers. The spirit did not die when the world changed. It adapted. It moved from village squares to urban streets, from sacred forests to public arenas, from whispered chants to loudspeakers and cameras. But even now, beneath the lights, beside smartphones and city dust, Zangbeto still walks. In the Republic of Benin, especially in Porto Novo, Ouidah, and Cotonou, the Zangbeto festivals are not relics. They are living ceremonies, full of thunder, rhythm, and power. Each year, during traditional celebrations, the raffia rises. Entire communities prepare for the day Zangbeto will take to the streets. Cloth is cleaned, drums are tuned, altars are prepared with kola nut, palm wine, and herbs. Children are taught the songs. The elders listen to their dreams for omens. When the moment comes, the drums begin not with noise, but with command. The talking drum does not merely echo. It speaks. It calls the spirit. It invites him to descend. And from the compound of the Zangbeto society, the guardian emerges. Towering, swaying, shimmering in layers of raffia dyed in red, purple, gold, and green. The air shifts. And though the crowd has gathered in joy, there is a pause, a quiet, because everyone knows this is not just celebration. This is witness. In these festivals, Zangbeto performs ritual theater, but not in the sense of performance for pleasure. Every step is sacred, every spin a communication, every pause a question to the spiritual world. Spectators cheer, yes, but they also pray. They clap, yes, but they also bow. For when Zangbeto moves, the ancestors watch with him. In some festivals, Zangbeto demonstrates his powers openly. He may call out a local dispute, naming names no one expected. He may expose a thief or a hidden oathbreaker. In certain villages, he enters a trance and uncovers stolen goods buried beneath the earth. The people gasp. They cry. Some flee. Because even in celebration, Zangbeto's gaze is sharp. And yet, joy flows through these ceremonies like palm wine. Zangbeto dances through the streets to music, his spinning body forming spirals of dust. Children follow in laughter. Women ululate with pride. Tourists stare in awe. And in that sacred circle of movement, culture, and memory, the past meets the present and says, "We are still here." In Lagos and Badagry, both in Nigeria, Zangbeto ceremonies have grown into major cultural festivals. State officials may attend. Journalists take pictures. But the spirit is never diluted. The elders make sure that in some diasporic communities, especially among Afro-descendant populations in the Caribbean and South America, echoes of Zangbeto can still be found, though not always by name. The principle of the night guardian, of the spinning mask, of the spirit enforcer appears in masquerades, carnivals, and possession rituals. There, under other names, Zangbeto remembers himself. But it is in Benin where his presence remains most pure. And it is here, each year, that people gather from across the continent and beyond to witness the phenomenon that cannot be fully explained. Journalists try to document it, scholars try to dissect it, but the locals say simply, "He walks because we remember. He dances because the spirits still have work to do." During the climax of the festival, Zangbeto may reveal his inner mystery. In a controlled ritual space, the elders lift the outer raffia, only to reveal nothing, or fire, or sand, or a live snake, or in some cases a second, smaller Zangbeto figure spinning inside. These moments break the boundaries of logic. The crowd gasps. Cameras click, but the people bow, because they understand. This is not illusion. This is invocation. After the dances, the offerings are given. Libation is poured. Elders step forward and speak directly to the spirit, asking for peace, justice, fertility, and guidance. The Zangbeto bows once, spins, and retreats back into the sacred house. And as he disappears, the crowd erupts, not in sorrow, but in relief. Because for one more season, the night was guarded, and balance was restored. These ceremonies are not only about ritual, they are about identity. In a world that tries to erase indigenous memory, that labels ancient truths as backward or strange, the continued presence of Zangbeto is an act of spiritual defiance. It says, we remember who we are. It says, we do not need to be translated to be true. And the children, those watching wide-eyed from the edge of the circle, they carry the seed forward. One day, they too will stand before the raffia. One day, they will learn the chants. One day, the spirit will choose a new body, and Zangbeto will rise again. Because as long as night falls, as long as truth must be protected, as long as justice cannot sleep, Zangbeto will dance.
Zangbeto was born in darkness, called forth by the cry for order. But today, the darkness wears a new face. The enemies are not only thieves and witches, but apathy, mockery, and forgetting. In the modern world, where the screen glows brighter than the moon and sirens have replaced the talking drum, Zangbeto still spins. But he must now fight for more than justice. He must fight for his place in memory. The arrival of colonial powers in West Africa nearly erased many of the sacred institutions rooted in indigenous knowledge. European administrators, missionaries, and merchants viewed Zangbeto not as a guardian, but as a threat. The raffia mask was labeled savage, the spinning ceremony pagan theater. The spiritual society behind him was deemed subversive. Colonial forces outlawed certain rituals, disrupted initiations, and forced spiritual leaders to hide or disband. But Zangbeto did not die. He went underground. In hushed rooms and hidden shrines, elders continued to whisper his name. In village compounds where no outsider could enter, the rituals were kept alive. Boys still dreamed of the raffia. Women still laid offerings. Drummers still remembered the rhythms. And when the colonial flags fell and independence came, the raffia spun again, stronger than before. Yet the challenge was not over. As cities expanded and globalization arrived, new threats emerged. Western education systems taught children that Zangbeto was myth. Urban churches warned their congregations against the masquerade. Modern governments turned to police stations instead of spirit houses. Television, internet, and pop culture distracted a new generation from ancestral memory. But the night still held shadows, and the people remembered. In recent years, there has been a powerful revival, not just of Zangbeto, but of indigenous spiritual authority. Young people in Benin, Togo, and Nigeria have begun to return to the roots. Cultural pride is rising. Ancestral festivals are gaining government recognition. African spirituality is no longer whispered in shame. It is shouted in celebration. Zangbeto is appearing more, not only in village squares, but in public demonstrations of tradition, in international festivals, in cultural documentaries, in academic symposiums. Elders have begun passing on secrets once hidden. Societies are welcoming younger initiates. Scholars now study Zangbeto not as folklore, but as living law. In some cities, Zangbeto even works side by side with state institutions. Local councils recognize his power to maintain order. Community watch systems incorporate Zangbeto patrols. In places where modern justice fails, Zangbeto remains the trusted force. He still spins, he still sees, he still corrects. But the revival is not just about function, it is about identity. Zangbeto has become a symbol, not just of the Ogu people, but of African sovereignty over truth, tradition, and time. The raffia mask now stands for something larger: the refusal to forget, the refusal to be translated out of existence, the refusal to surrender what is sacred. Even in the diaspora, Zangbeto's shadow is stretching. Afro-descendant communities across the Americas are rediscovering ancestral guardianship. In Brazil, Haiti, Trinidad, though the names differ, the principle remains: spirits that patrol, spirits that protect, spirits that do not sleep. And as African spirituality becomes global again, Zangbeto stands as a towering reminder that some forces are not dead. They are just waiting for the right moment to be remembered. But the path is not without danger. Commercialization threatens to hollow the spirit. Tourist performances risk turning sacred ceremonies into spectacle. Some seek to film Zangbeto, to brand him, to explain him for profit. But the elders resist. He is not entertainment, they say. He is ancestral breath. He is the law of the unseen. He is not to be consumed. He is to be honored. And so the struggle continues, not only in the street, but in the heart of the people, the heart of tradition, the heart of memory. Because Zangbeto cannot survive if he becomes only a mask. He must remain a living force, guarded by those who know that justice is not always loud and truth is not always modern. Sometimes truth is raffia and wind. Sometimes justice is a figure who spins until your soul begins to shake. The revival is here. The cloth has risen, the spirits have returned, and they are not asking for permission. Zangbeto walks, not as relic, but as revelation. When the mask is placed back on the altar and the raffia folds like a tired flame, the people do not say goodbye. They say, "He will return." Because Zangbeto is not a man, he is not even a masquerade. He is presence without end, a watchful eye hidden in wind, a judge with no mouth, yet full of speech, a body built from cloth and memory, and a spirit that does not sleep. You've seen what many will never dare to see. You've walked through the streets where silence bows to spinning cloth. You've felt the pulse of a people who remember what others have tried to forget. That justice is not always written in law books. Sometimes it is carved into the dust by feet that do not belong to this world. Zangbeto lives because the people believe, because the night is still full of secrets, because the human world still leaks. And something must guard the cracks. The modern world would rather explain him away, reduce him to culture, label him folklore, box him into a paragraph in a tourist brochure. But how do you explain the wind when it speaks your name? How do you label a mask that moves with no one beneath it? How do you define a spirit that has outlived colonizers, missionaries, and every empire that ever mocked its name? You don't. You respect it. Because what moves beneath Zangbeto's raffia is not just power. It is accountability made visible. It is ancestral rage in rhythm. It is truth that refuses to die quietly. And this, my lord, is the lesson. The spirit still walks. Even if you no longer see it in the street, it walks in dreams, in memory, in consequence. In every action you take when no one is watching. Zangbeto is watching, not with eyes, with presence, with force, with sacred weight. So the next time your village is too quiet, when the shadows feel too close, when the wrong has gone too long unpunished, listen, watch, feel, because somewhere in the dark, The raffia will rise again. The dust will stir. The drums will speak. And justice will return, spinning, because the night may fall, but the spirit does not sleep.